Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise recap. I'm Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we have Carl McDonald, and your Boston Celtics have defeated the Golden State Warriors with a final score of 121-110, fresh out of All-Star break. And do you know who else is looking fresh tonight? Carl. Carl, I gotta say, I love the haircut. You look fresh. I'm over here like my hair is so long. We were just talking about this before we joined. And geez, what almost 1 o'clock in the morning. We probably won't have a lot of viewers tonight, Carl, but I gotta say the haircut, 10 out of 10. And just for
Appreciate
the
it, appreciate it.
yeah,
But I'm looking
love
at the most fly guy here. Griffin Aldrich
I
right
appreciate Carl.
here.
Carl says you though, says you. You can't put all the respect on me. You got the fresh cut. You got the fresh cut. But anyways, Celtics win. Celtics win. And Carl, you know how we go. Initial thoughts after this big Celtics win tonight.
Looking at this game, I was probably the most excited about, obviously, with us playing against Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis for the first time since, either the trading or, walks happened prior to the off season or prior in that off season, prior to this season. And of course, excited too because my brother is also a Warriors fan. So now I can brag more in his face that we won. And, my personal vendetta against the Warriors in general. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Had fun for the most part throughout this game. The Boston Celtics really came out hot. A little bit in the first quarter, not some of their best work, but they still were able to pick it up and turn it around. And again, dominated for the majority of the game. And at one point, we're leading by over 30 points. I believe it was 34 points. Again, great production offensively, great production defensively as well. And you want to shout out, certain things that happened, like Hugo Gonzalez playing really well too. That one play that he had where he got up to the hoop. Payne Pritchard also very productive. Jaylen Brown always productive. Just in general, as a collective, this team looked really good. But it was until the second half, a little bit later into the game, where I was a little bit not panicking, but at the same time a little like, hey, what is going on there? We have this lead and now the Warriors are coming back. And keep in mind, this is a Warriors team playing without their best player in Steph Curry. And of course, they're without Jimmy Butler for the remainder of the season. So definitely a bit scary to see the Celtics now losing a massive lead to a team that doesn't have their second nor first best player. And all in all, thankfully, they were able to get the job done. They were able to still ensure that the Warriors didn't mount that comeback. But something that is very scary and something that I would like for the Celtics to polish up on in the future is that when you have those big leads, you don't want to give them up, especially with how easy that is. Maybe it's the crowd getting to you, but you have to realize, like, hey, you have this lead, you're dominating. You have to polish up on that because what if you find yourself in a playoff situation, and down the stretch, and not the first time something like this happened with the Celtics where they're up big and unfortunately lose that lead. So definitely something they have to polish up on. Other than that, great performance from the Celtics, and I'm just glad that we're back doing this and seeing them play.
Well said, Carl. I agree. This is one thing where, I looked at this game and I looked at where the Celtics were at halftime, and I was like, all right, this is a game where second half we should be seeing Delano Banton and John Tonji, the newest members of the Boston Celtics, on the 10-day contracts today. Go check out those videos after on the account. I thought we were going to see them get some run today. However, it didn't look that way because Celtics really, really turned it around in that third and fourth quarter. However, I think it was just rust. Like you said, you got to shake that off. It's coming off of a long All-Star week. You got to get your feet warmed up again. But again, I don't want to say, all right, what's happening after All-Star break. I don't think it's anything major. I just think it's, you had a long week off, but still definitely was not one I expected, as I wanted to see the young guys get some time, the new guys. Like even Amari Williams and Ron Harper Jr., I was hoping to see get more run, but they quickly changed that up. But Carl, as you mentioned in there, the lead tracker. And if you wanted to go into it really quick, because as you could see right here, the Boston Celtics, it looked like the Warriors had a little steam. You see the blue there, and then Carl, you take it away. I don't want to steal your spotlight here, but break it down for us, Carl.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Griffin, for that. Yeah, pretty much what we're looking at here on the forecast is mostly green. We love to see that sea of green. Of course, we're seeing a tiny bit of the blue from the Warriors. This team again was doing pretty well for themselves at the beginning of the first quarter, but the Celtics found themselves not only mounting that comeback, but ultimately taking a lead of this game. And pretty much you would see that almost a wire to wire where they were dominating for the majority of this game. In that first quarter, I thought this was about to be a back and forth the entire game, really almost set the tone for what we were supposed to get, throughout this entire contest. 36-32, the Celtics win the first quarter and would go on to win the second quarter in dominating in convincing fashion, 38-19. Then you get to the third quarter, the second half, and that's where the Celtics are winning by 28 against the Warriors' 22. But this score is pretty close. And as we discussed before, later into this game, specifically in the fourth quarter, is where the Warriors are attempting to mount a massive comeback and trying to take this game at home. And we see it not only in this score, but also in this forecast too, 19-37, the Warriors winning that fourth quarter. Yet it was not enough for the Warriors to, mount that what could have been a comeback for them and what could have been a win for them. The Celtics ultimately pick up this victory as they show that they're the better team tonight. And it's not only showing in these stats, but also in this forecast as well.
No, well said, Carl. Well said. One thing I do want to kind of say is a funny thing, beside this game, the Celtics at All-Star break last year were 39-16. This year we're 35-19. So, Carl, I have to say, no Tatum, no Horford, no Porzingis, no Holiday, and the Celtics are still cooking. And I have to say, obviously, we'll talk about the new additions on the Celtics Nation Rise podcast this week. But before I get into these stats really quick, what were your initial thoughts on those two 10-day contracts today as well? If you want to just brush up on that really quick.
No, absolutely. I did catch the news that Ben was now back on the team. And honestly, I liked it just because, hey, he was a part of the championship team. Obviously, he wasn't there, until the end. I believe who was he traded for initially? Xavier Tillman? I could be wrong. I don't believe it was
Either
Tillman. It was
him or
actually
Springer, I think.
Springer. Right. Yeah. Springer. Jaden
Was
Springer, I
there?
believe.
I think it was weird. I don't know if he was directly traded for him, though. I feel
Mm,
like he was traded there for a pick. I forget. Wait, hold on. Let me
I
look
believe
it
it
up.
was like a theme tree.
Yeah, I'll
Like I
look it
think
up.
it was like a theme tree trade. Okay, okay. But yeah, definitely it's great to see an old Celtic back in the Celtics green. Obviously, this is a 10-day contract and they're just kind of feeling him out, seeing if they want to keep him long term. Definitely could be very productive for us. I don't think they're really looking to fully commit to Ron Harper Jr. at this time. If especially he impresses us throughout these 10 days, I feel like if, he doesn't, whatever, then they will give a standard contract or two-way contract to Ron Harper. Meanwhile, you're picking up John Tanji. I've heard a lot of great things about him and seen some of his highlights. Definitely somebody that I would like to see develop even more with the Boston Celtics. And honestly, I don't blame also the Celtics giving him that 10-day contract too, not only seeing what he can provide to us long term, but also allowing for him to develop and fill up, the roster that we needed. Because with signing Banton, we fill up that 14th spot, and then John, who is now the 15th man of this team. So definitely it works out for the organization and the team, as they're making the moves into playoffs, but also seeing how these guys are going to manage whether they're going to be long term pieces for us or not, and how well they will develop within their own system with not just the Celtics, in Boston, but also in Maine as well.
No, well said, Carl. I think I like the aspect how young they are as well. But I did do research and we did trade Banton to the Trailblazers for a heavily protected 2027 second round pick.
Mm,
And then we traded a second round pick for Jaden Springer. So,
okay.
yep, there's that.
Okay.
But for the Celtics tonight, I mean, the Boston Celtics tonight had 54 rebounds opposed to 40 from the Warriors. The one thing that did kill the Celtics, though, tonight and really was the downfall in that second half was the turnovers. 13 turnovers from the Celtics and 8 by the Warriors. However, the Celtics shooting percentage is really what propelled them to their win tonight, shooting 51.6% opposed to 44.8. But Carl, with that being said, if you wanted to get into the Warriors stats, because again, two familiar faces came faced off against the Celtics tonight, and they're in the stat sheet for the opposing team. So if you wanted to get into the Warriors stats,
Absolutely. So when you're looking at the Warriors stats, obviously there are a few individuals who stand out. One of them being Will Richard. He ends the game with 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block on 55% in shooting. And honestly, this is a really great, addition to this team with him being incredibly young. He's also always, finding some way to be productive and showing effort, like helping with second chance points or helping on the defensive end, preventing, the Celtics, any Celtics player from shooting. Definitely somebody that the Warriors should look to not only keep and further develop as that maybe next big guy, before Steph Curry eventually calls it quits, before he eventually retires. Definitely so. Also ending with 17 points and 6 rebounds. Santos also very productive and also somebody you will want to build around, especially alongside Richard in the near future. Another 18 points on 54% in shooting from Milton. He's been a great addition to them. This is somebody that they had picked up, I believe, last season as well. Definitely, when Steph Curry is absent, even if Steph Curry is playing, somebody that they can rely on and really, he's just really productive and can really help out, especially with Steph Curry not playing. Another 14 points on 75% in shooting from Gary Payton the second. I'm not the biggest fan of the Warriors, but I do really like Gary Payton the second. I really like how well he plays, the way he essentially was rallying this team in, the second half. Despite the fact that we're going up against this team, it's great to see him being, that type of guy showing all that effort and inspiring his team to mount this massive comeback here. Another 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists from Pod. And then you have Moody putting up 11 points on 44% in shooting. And then for our former Celtics, former champions, Al Horford ends the game with 5 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists on 20% in shooting. Not going to get too much into, that just because, A, he was still productive. And also, this is somebody who, although is a lot older. I believe he's turning 40 this year. He, is still going to be productive for your team regardless. And Kristaps Porzingis in his debut with the Golden State Warriors, he ends the game with 12 points, rebound and assist, the block, and over 50% in shooting. And I feel like he can definitely be a difference maker for the team. Obviously, the main concern would be, the health issues that he has had to deal with pretty much the entire duration of his career. He can definitely help them out. That's the only, really downside about picking him up. But other than that, that's how the Warriors played tonight. Not terribly, but at the same time, not enough to mount a comeback or even pick up the win against the Celtics.
no, well said, Carl. Well said. Great to see those two familiar faces. For the Boston Celtics, though, tonight, all two of the two-way players now. Um, well, not all of them, but one of them now. It's weird because seeing Amari Williams getting that deal with the Celtics, now John Tonji gets that deal with the Celtics. But Shulga DNP, Tonji DNP, Banton DNP. Amari Williams, DMP. Oh, that's just a smack in the face left and right. I was excited to see them play. However, we got some former Maine Celtics on there, so we got to show our love to our Maine Celtics guys. Jordan Walsh, who I thought he should have played a little bit more. I loved what he was doing when he was out there. Tonight had 7 minutes, 5 points, 2 rebounds, shot 100%. Again, really loved what I saw earlier in this game. They went to him at the end in that fourth quarter, but once things weren't clicking, they took him out. But I think he should have still got a little more run. Again, a former Maine Celtic, Baylor Shireman tonight played 24 minutes, 7 points, 5 rebounds, assist, and a steal. I thought he played phenomenal, Carl. I thought he had a great game too and was fun to watch. Luca Garza only played 2 minutes and he had a three and a rebound. Ugo Gonzalez, who also did great things for the Boston Celtics, as you mentioned today, Carl. 7 points, 4 rebounds, a steal, and shot 60%. And as you guys have been seeing in the ticker down below, Ron Harper Jr. tonight with 6 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, a block, and shot 50% and only played 12 minutes. And again, I think he should have played more. They played him in the first quarter and then didn't really get more run. But this is a guy where you need to take a flyer on. And I said it earlier, I feel like the reason why they didn't sign him to that 10-day contract is they show trust in Ron Harper Jr. They want him to keep developing and be an asset for this team. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it. For Vucevic tonight, played 28 minutes, had 9 points, 5 rebounds, a steal, and a block. Shot 44.4%. Nemias Queta looked like he was getting banged up a little bit tonight. Had 9 points, 6 rebounds, an assist, and 2 steals tonight, though. Hauser caught fire tonight. And we could give him a little tab. We can mention him in CNR MVP voting. Sam Hauser tonight, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. I thought he had a very productive night. But then Derek White for the Boston Celtics tonight had 10 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal, 4 blocks, and shot 30.8% from the field goal. However, the two guys tonight, Peyton Pritchard for the Boston Celtics, and this is where CNR MVP voting comes in handy because these are the guys we're going to look at. One, you see this great stat sheet, and I don't want to nitpick, but I'm nitpicking for the CNR MVP voting. The turnovers tonight, 4 turnovers for Pritchard, and I just one critique on him, and then I'm gonna give him all the flowers he deserves. When in that fourth quarter when the Celtics started falling apart, he just he kept going with the ball and caused turnover after turnover. But he got the Celtics out of it as well because he ended the game with 26 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. He was phenomenal tonight. But then Jaylen Brown tonight for the Boston Celtics as well. A triple double tonight with 20 points, 15 rebounds, and 30 assists. Not enough great things to say about Jaylen Brown. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to say about him when we get into CNR MVP voting. But Carl, it's about that time. Who is your I think it's about time, Carl. Do you want to go first? Who is your Celtics Nation Rise MVP tonight after this win against the Warriors?
Obviously, when you're looking at this game, and I'm glad that you mentioned Hauser too, because he definitely deserves a mention with how well he played tonight. But of course, I feel like personally it does come down to Peyton Pritchard and Jaylen Brown. And honestly, this time I'm going to have to go with Peyton Pritchard just because you had mentioned as well, the turnovers, yes, definitely was very messy and was a big reason why the Warriors were able to mount somewhat of a comeback. But it's the way how he was able to quickly, realize like, hey, I gotta, shift this way or move this way, and essentially took over and helped his team to come back. You know what I mean? This was this was, Peyton. This was vintage Peyton Pritchard. It's great to see him playing in this way. When again, this is a guy who came into the league and there was no chance of him being, somebody who could have led this team in the way that he has led them tonight. Pretty much right now, he is the second option, and he showed that tonight. Almost 30 points and six threes, and is also great in assists and rebounding. And just in general, Peyton Pritchard took us out of this mess and owned up to, the mistakes that he had by doing so. And I feel like that's what true leadership is, being able to own up to the mistakes that you made and not only owning up to them, but also correcting them. And he did that in the best way possible by not only giving us those very crucial threes, very important threes towards the end of the game, but also in general, just helping us to pick up this big win. We love Peyton Pritchard, and he's my CNR MVP.
Well, Carl, I had to make a text because and listen,
Oh, yeah.
I know
Yell.
Justin was saying you get snubbed a lot. I meant he got snubbed a lot, but you get snubbed a lot because I'm going Jaylen Brown tonight. So
I don't blame you.
I had to make a text because I think Jaylen Brown tonight was just phenomenal. And you almost convinced me on Peyton Pritchard, and I agree. In the comeback, he was crucial, but in the entirety of the game, I thought that Jaylen Brown was just huge and effective tonight and really what propelled the Celtics to that lead. But you have a point, Carl. You have a point, and we have the middleman.
Yay!
Sorry I couldn't join. I'm making a very, very late appearance, but I'm excited to be here. And I'm glad Griffin gave me the call. I'm honored. I'm very honored.
Oh, Andrew, thank you. Because I have to admit, I don't know where you're gonna go with it, but I as soon as Carl said it, I was like, oh geez, I know this is gonna be a debate because I'm going JB, but this is the moment of truth, Andrew.
So, just to clarify to everyone, I was unable to really catch any of this game. Doing homework, work, everything. I did not have a chance to watch this game, but I'll be making sure to catch majority of the rest of the way. I will say so. My answer is going to be very objective. I'm sure potentially Peyton Pritchard or Jaylen Brown had a better game, and maybe the stats don't really show it. But I have to be extremely objective tonight because that's all. The stats are really the only thing that I'm looking at. So bear with me while I find those stats. Do we happen to have stats here?
Yeah. Here, let me pull them up for you.
Let's pull these up.
Oh. There we go. All right, let's pull them up. So Peyton Pritchard tonight, 26 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. And Carl, let's go again. Give your explanation for Andrew, because again,
let's go. We're gonna have a civil discourse right here. We're gonna have a debate, and you guys are gonna have to. I'll be the deciding factor. I'm the judge.
Here, let's put Andrew in the middle.
A ref's review. We love it. So I'm pretty much explaining to Griffin. Yeah, Peyton Pritchard. Yes, those four turnovers were a big reason why the Warriors were able to mount somewhat of a comeback. But again, owning up to his mistake and even better, coming back and just helping us to win the game with some very crucial threes, down the stretch of this game. It was just really great to see Peyton Pritchard playing in the way that he's playing. Again, this is a guy who was never supposed to be in this position, and now he's pretty much not even pretty much. He is the second option of the Boston Celtics, and he's showing that. This is a dude coming off the bench and playing in the way that he's playing. Almost 30 points tonight, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 6 threes. And again, for you to quickly, shift into making those mistakes to correcting them, in my opinion, that's CNR MVP material right there. And I really wanted to go with JB just because of that triple-double. And yes, he was great throughout the duration of that game. But Peyton Pritchard down the stretch really helped us out there.
No, well said, Carl. But I gotta say, Jaylen Brown tonight, though. I gotta say, listen, I think the thing is, though, whoever walks away with the CNR MVP tonight, well deserved it. But for Jaylen Brown, I have to say, Peyton Pritchard, all right, he got them into the mess, but he got them out of it as well, was very productive. However, Jaylen Brown, I believe, throughout the duration of the game, was a great option for the Celtics. Every time you looked up, he was doing something, whether it was rebounding the ball, scoring points, or passing the ball to get that extra bucket. I think the numbers speak for themselves. I'm going JB, and that's all that has to be said. But Andrew, moment of truth. I think the convincing, I feel like Carl probably had a better argument than I. I'll put you in the middle again. But who we got for CNR MVP?
Both of you guys, very job well done. Both points are very valid, and I appreciate them. One of my classes is the First Amendment, so I'm getting a lot of judge talk. So this is fun. This is fun. I feel like I'm in their shoes.
In the
No,
ballpark.
I'm not actually in their shoes, but you understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying. Their shoes are a lot harder. But I'm gonna go ahead and just announce the MVP myself.
Ooh.
Your CNR MVP, Mr. Jaylen Fushipo Brown. Faith, hard work, consistency pays off. That man is your MVP for tonight, and I'll tell you why. 23 points, 15 rebounds, 13 assists. But what stands out to me is that Jaylen Brown is willing to do whatever it takes to will this team to victory. Because 23 points, I mean, that's below his averages, right? But he's moving the ball. He's rebounding. 15 rebounds, 13 assists. Like, to me, those are intangibles. Those are sacrifices that you do give to your team that helps you win games. And so he's not just here to pour in points. He's not here to get the MVP award he's not here to get the scoring title. He's here to win basketball games. And that stat line to me shows what he's doing. I mean, this is probably one of his better games of the entire season, if we really take into account everything that transpired tonight. And 13 assists to me, Jaylen Brown, his growth is immense, and those assists show it to me tonight. So kudos to Jaylen Brown. He's your CNR MVP.
Well, thank you again so much, Andrew, for joining. We appreciate it. And Jaylen Brown's 12th CNR MVP of the season. So we thank you, Andrew, and we will catch you for hopefully Sunday's game. We hope to catch you on that one.
Beautiful
Fellas,
explanation.
It was a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon. Gonna go back to my homework and laundry. So wish me
at 1:15 a.m.
That's the college life, man.
I'm on different time right now, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really. It is college life. I'm trying to embrace it. I'm trying to embrace it just like the Celtics are embracing this journey. So
to be fair, in Golden State, it's like in like over there where the Celtics played, it's about like
10, 11.
10 or 11.
Exactly. So I'm in Cali time right now. I'm on Cali time.
Yeah, you're in San Francisco.
I wish. I fucking wish.
Oh, we appreciate you.
It's cold. I can't take it. All right, peace.
Take care, man.
But Jaylen Brown and Carl, I don't think you're upset about this one. It could have went either way. I could have went Richard as well, but 12th CNR MVP for Jaylen Brown. But what are your final thoughts before we close out, Carl?
I literally had one, and then I just lost it. Let me think of something else. No.
I'll give my final thoughts really quick while you try to retract your memory. I thought tonight was a good win. Not a great win, but a good win. this was a win that was set up to be a great win, but with turnovers and mistakes and shaking off rust from All-Star break, it became a good win. But the Celtics, you can nitpick all you want, but they still got the job done regardless, and that's what's most important. You obviously look at these wins, and I think every night we criticize the Celtics on one thing or another, but the thing that they've been able to do, like 36, 37. If David was here. However many wins here. Burn. Beep. But we'll wait. We'll wait till it comes up because I don't want to say it again. I don't want to say it again because I know I'm gonna have David if he watches this back. Oh, 6-7. All right, 36 wins this season. I have to say we've nitpicked on everyone, but no matter what, a win is a win at the end of the day, and that's what the Celtics have been able to do 36 times this season, and will continue to do so more this season. But good win. Happy to be back from All-Star break, and playoffs is on the horizon now, Carl. Playoffs is on the horizon, but what are your thoughts?
First things first, again, kudos to Andrew, with that tiebreaker. Again, yeah, Jaylen Brown just deserves all the flowers in the world with what he's been doing with this team. We will never stop saying that because, again, he's been given such a interesting and, tasking task, in being the first option of this team. And the expectations for him, was to be good, but never to lead this team to being a second seed in the Eastern Conference. And, we've talked about this, in length as well, too. I'm incredibly proud of this team and what they've accomplished. Again, we're like you just said, we're about to go to the playoffs, Griffin. We're about to compete in the postseason again. Jaylen Brown earlier this season, before the season even started, said, I've never not been to the playoffs. And now we're going to see him playing in the playoffs and, possibly without Tatum, preferably we would love that. But again, until he is completely ready, 110%. But I just love this team. I'm very grateful and, thankful for this team. And in some aspects, I would say they're, better than the 2024 team. Obviously not in dominance, and near perfection that they were, but with everything that was thrown at them, with all those comments about them having to take a gap year and, just waste away. And now that's being cracked down on by Adam Silver in the league. Thankfully we didn't do that. But but it's just great to see the Celtics, furthering their identity, not just this Celtics team, but also representing the Celtics as a whole in their history, because I feel like this would have never happened, or not this would have never happened. The expectations for them would have never, I guess, came to pass in the 80s or even the 90s or even the early 2000s if they were in a similar position of losing their best player and being forced to take a gap year and, rest your players and just partaking in the load management that you don't have to partake in. It's great to see the Celtics, really making this culture even more greater and special, especially in the 21st century, because I don't think I've ever seen a team do something like this. And to see it be our team, is just very special. And I just can't wait to see more of this team, flourishing in the way that they're flourishing, especially when Jason Tatum eventually returns and him and Jaylen Brown will finally be seen as equals.
No, well said, Carl. Well said. And I have to say, you mentioned playoffs again in there too. Not only going to playoffs, but if we maintain the second seed, we'll host playoff games unless we face off against the Pistons. So even better than that. But great win again. And well said, Carl. And with that being said, you guys, we will see you guys Sunday against the Los Angeles Lakers, I believe. Yes,
Yeah.
we will.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. And that'll be a fun one for Carl because his GOAT plays for them. So I have oh,
and he's gonna
That's
play that
gonna
one
be
too.
that's gonna be a meme, Carl, on the CNR extras. Uh, but with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys stayed up this late with us, thank you so much. Again, we know it's late, but Sunday we'll get a little earlier with the 6 o'clock game, a lot earlier, may I say. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. And we will see you guys with the next one. Peace, you guys.
Later.